All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Armchair Armdrager podcast. This is episode number 10, and I am your host, as always, Ben Hersick. So, this week we got Extreme Rules this Sunday. We have Fight for the Fallen on Saturday. We have the Evolve 10-year anniversary show on Saturday. And the G1 Climax, its second night is, I'm going to say Sunday? Don't quote me on that. No, it'd be Saturday. Saturday morning. For us Americans. So I cover a little bit of all that. I am going to be completely honest. I still haven't seen night one of the G1 Climax because I've been really busy lately. So yeah, sorry about that. So no review this week. Definitely be a in-depth review next week so far of the tournament. Let's see. I almost forgot. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at ChurroSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. And as I always say, I write stuff for All Things Combat. For those of you that still don't know, All Things Combat is All Things Combat is a website that covers pro wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We are continuing our SummerSlam review series. We are up to 2005, which I am doing, which comes out today. Recording this on Thursday. It comes out on Friday, so it comes out tomorrow. My next one's 2007. So I've got two coming up soon. I just did a 2003 one that came out on Monday. What else do I have going on with that? I'm going to take a little break from How Did They Get Here simply because of the fact that it's the G1. I want to relax and enjoy it. So that's what I'm going to do. What else is there going on in the wrestling world? Can't really think of anything. So let's jump right into how this weekend is going to work. For the website, for All Things Combat, we're going to have live coverage of Fight for the Fallen and the Evolve 10-year anniversary show, which is happening at the same time. Josh will be doing the coverage of Fight for the Fallen, while I'll be doing coverage of Evolve. And then we have Extreme Rules on Sunday. I'll be covering that too. I'm very excited for this weekend in wrestling. It looks really good. Fight for the Fallen, I don't really know too much going on the show, to be honest. I know it's like the typical AEW crew, but I don't really know anything else going on in the card. Is this the one with Cody and one of the Jacksons versus Kenny and the other Jackson? Because I thought that was coming up soon. I also thought we were getting Bucks versus Cody and Dustin at some point. It's one of them. One of these shows is happening. So at Fight for the Fallen, we have Brandy Rhodes versus Ali, Kenny Omega versus Sema. Really? That's going to be a pretty good match, actually. Cody and Dustin versus the Young Bucks. Okay, there's that one. Adam Page versus Kip Sabian is going to be pretty good. Havoc, Darby Allin, and Joey Janela versus MJF, Sammy Guevara. I still think I'm saying his name right. And Shawn Spears in six-man tag pre-show match. SoCal Uncensored versus the Lucha Bros. And Sonny Kiss versus Peter Avalon in the pre-show. It's a smaller card, to be completely honest. It looks very interesting, to be honest. Kenny Omega versus Sema immediately jumped out at me. It's probably going to help strengthen the All Elite Wrestling and OWE connection, which would be very nice to see. I expect him to get a lot of time. That may be the main event, although I think it'd be tough to not say it's going to be Cody and Dustin versus the Young Bucks. My biggest fear is that they're going to turn this promotion, they being the Elite, they're going to turn this promotion into a thing about them. And they're going to always be in the main event and always be in the championship hunt. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's my one fear with the promotion. And everyone's like, oh, it's the greatest promotion ever. We've had 2 shows under the AEW banner. The first one was good. The second one wasn't as good from what I heard. I still haven't seen that one either. It was also said that Britt Baker and B. Priestley will be there. So I'm kind of excited to see that. It could be turned into a Fatal 4 Women's match between Brandy and Allie. Or it could just be another match. Who knows? So yeah, that is the card that Josh will be covering. I believe the pre-show starts at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, give me 2 seconds while I look up the Evolve 10-year anniversary card. No, stupid phone. There it is. Found it. So what do we got? Ooh, I'm already looking at the card and it looks really good. 9 matches, so it's more matches. They have Adam Cole versus Akira Tozawa for the NXT Championship. Drew Gulak versus Matt Riddle in a Catch Point reunion match, which is really cool. Josh Briggs versus Anthony Green, the Features Now Showcase match. J.D. Drake versus Austin Theory, which is the WWN World Wrestling Network Champion versus the Evolve Champion in a winner-take-all. Austin Henry versus Arto Rouse, I believe is how you say that, in a grudge match. Quotes on that. Babatunde versus Colby Corano, singles match. Kurt Stallion versus Sean Maluda versus Stephen Wolf versus Harlem Bravado. That's going to be really good because I'm a big Sean Maluda fan, to be honest. Eddie Kingston and Joey Gacy versus AR Fox and Leon Ruff. And you also have Brandy Lauren versus Shazzy Blackheart. This is actually a really good card, too. Saturday's going to be a really fun night for wrestling. Shazzy Blackheart's an amazing women's wrestler. She could be. She's hinted at maybe going to take to take the next step in the women's division. She's hinted at AEW and WWE a little bit from what I remember. AR Fox, it's nice to finally get to see him get some love. He's been in Evolve for so long, he's finally getting a chance to shine on a major network, which is really cool. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Sean Maluda. Babatunde really impressed at the Performance Center Combine. I'm very curious to see what he can do in the actual ring. Let's see if it translates and go from there. Austin Theory, I've been super high on for a long time. Very excited to see what he does. I've heard about Josh Briggs before. Anthony Green, maybe not as much. I'm curious what Josh Briggs can do. Is that the same guy from Tough Enough? Hold up. We all know Drew Gulak, Matt Riddle, Kirizawa, and Adam Cole can do. Hold up. Let's look up WWE Tough Enough. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is important. This is really important. He was in the one with Stone Cold. No, I don't want the episodes. Contestants, here we go. That was Jeremiah Riggs. Okay, that's what it was. But yeah, it's going to be a fun show. I'm very excited to see it. I'm very excited for the Saturday in wrestling in general. Whatever I don't watch Saturday, I could watch Sunday before Extreme Rules. So I could watch my Fight for the Fallen before Extreme Rules goes on. Or I could watch the second day of the G1 Climax. I might save that till Monday. Fight for the Fallen, I'm going to watch the G1 Saturday after work when I have time. But enough about those. The whole reason for this episode, is for me to talk about Extreme Rules. I'm going to be completely honest here. It takes a little while for me to get into wrestling cards sometimes, it seems. The case was the best example I can make, Stomping Grounds. At first, I was not interested in the show at all. I'm like, there's no reason to watch it. And then I started to look at the card like 2 days before, the day before. I'm like, you know what? This could actually be a really good show. There's a lot of talented wrestlers here. And now that we're getting close to Extreme Rules, I kind of feel the same. There is so many talented wrestlers on here. I am very excited to see the show itself. I really hope it doesn't fall flat at the end. WWE's big issue with pay-per-views recently has been the whole show has been good. Overall, the whole show is good. And then the ending just sucks everything out of it. Money in the Bank. Great show. Fantastic Money in the Bank match going on. Brock Lesnar wins. Let's go to Stomping Grounds. Really good show. Really enjoyable. Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins with Lacey Evans as a special referee in an overbooked mess. If they can get the main event right, along with the rest of the show being right, there's going to be a really good show for this year. It could be the best show since WrestleMania. as long as it's not 7 hours long. I'll be very fine with it then. So this has 10 matches. I am... Let's see, how many am I excited for? I'm excited for that one. Excited for that one. That one. That one. That one, not so much. If I can get into that one. Not excited for that one. Nervous about that one. Don't really care about that one, except if a certain situation happens, and I could care less about that one. So I'm excited for at least half the card. I didn't specify which matches, because that's what I'm here to talk about. So let's start with what's probably going to be the pre-show match, even though they should be on the main show. Drew Gulak defending his Cruiserweight Championship against Tony Nese. It feels like this is a really safe pick here, partly because I don't think they want Gulak just to be a transitional champion. Especially if it's like, oh, Nese is champion, now he's lost to Gulak, and then he's champion because he beat Gulak. To me, that always would never make sense. Whenever a champion lost to somebody and lost the championship to that person just to win it back at the next show. What is the point of that? It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm taking Drew Gulak here, an easy pick. It's going to be a fantastic match. Tony Nese is really coming to a zone, I guess is the best way to say it. A realm of his own, maybe, is a good way to say it, too. And he's coming to a realm of his own recently, especially with with Buddy Murphy going to SmackDown and still not seeing him yet. With Cedric going to Raw and maybe him being featured a little more soon. Ali going to SmackDown and having been a prominent feature since November of last year. I'm very excited to see what Nese and Gulak can do. They're clearly the top two in the division. So how can they continue to make the show even better? Which is what I'm excited to see. I'm also curious now. Since he's showing up on Raw more, where does Mike Bennett play into all of this? It could just be they want to have this kind of storyline on Raw. As like this is like Paul Heyman's maybe his first like big storyline, so they want him to work on that. And then send it to Triple H or whoever's running 205 Live now. I don't remember the name. Have them take the ball and run with that and see how things compare. I'm excited for it, though. This is, like I said, it's the top two of the division. I almost feel like if Nese loses, which I think he will, he could maybe go to the main roster. I don't know. Nese is a tough one because I don't feel like he's the type of guy that everyone will connect to. It's nothing against him himself. It's just like the character doesn't scream main roster champion. It screams main roster consistent guy who never gets anywhere extra. I want to see more of Nese. I would love to see more of Nese. But he's got to figure out, not him himself, they had to figure out how they can use him properly up there. I'd love to see him stay in 205 Live his whole career. He's over with the diehard fan base there. But, like I said, it's Gulak here all day. Very easy pick because he just won the title. Let's then look at the Raw Tag Team Championship match. I was not aware this match was made. The Revival defend their championships against the Usos. This feud has gotten better. Is it great? No. Is it better? Yes. No more Usi Hot. No more shaving backs. None of that stuff. It's all been like strictly in the ring. Which is kind of playing into my prediction here because there hasn't been like a real overarching story. So not how do they twist it? How can they work it so that the in-ring aspect continues to outshine the story aspect? Also, do we continue to see them just putting on fantastic match after fantastic match? Because these two teams can just go all night. Also, is this match going to be on the pre-show? Please do not be on the pre-show. This match should be on the main card. You can use it as a bridge to the main event for all I care. But this match should be main card. I don't know how long Revival has left in their contracts. And they keep kind of like showing they want to leave, but money makes people do crazier things. If they get offered the right amount of money, it'd be interesting. It'd be real interesting. I think my thing with Revival is they're great wrestlers and they're a great promo, but they need the right person to work that promo and that match with. The answer is the Usos, to be fair. And this, I think, should go to SummerSlam simply because of the fact that then we can get a story and like an actual thing going on with the two. And I'm excited to see where this feud could possibly go. Simply because of the talent of all four men in that ring. Also, I've seen this question a lot on Twitter. If they break up the Usos, who would get a singles push first? That's always the thing with me. Like, if you break up brothers, at some point they're going to reunite. Like, look at Matt and Jeff. All the times they've broken up and gotten back together. It would be the same with the Usos. Which I feel like they should be a tag team for life. Maybe, like, say one of them gets injured. I know, was it Jay? I think Jay was the Iron Man before Dean Ambrose was. No, Dean was the Iron Man, then he got hurt. And then Jay became the Iron Man. Jay has not been injured a single day in his WWE career. So if say Jay is healthy but Jimmy gets hurt, could Jay possibly get like a singles little push? And then maybe Jay takes like a little time off to relax. I keep forgetting which one is married to Naomi. I think it's Jimmy. I don't know. Whichever one's married to Naomi, say they then go on like a little vacation, or the other one gets married and they go on their honeymoon for like a month. Maybe the other one gets a little singles push. I don't know. This is just me going off on a little thing. But I do think Revival win to set up a future match, probably SummerSlam, where they set up that future match and they go on to... And we see where it goes from there. It does seem like WWE is trying more of the tag team division, at least. They're giving them more to do, which is nice. I also still, staying on tag team division, I wouldn't be surprised if the women's tag titles are in like a surprise match. There are two titles that aren't featured on this card that could easily be. Women's tag titles and the Intercontinental title. Especially with Nakamura beating Balor on SmackDown, we could see Nakamura be the next challenge. He should be the next challenger to Balor because he beat the champion. But it's very, I guess, optimistic at this point to see Nakamura get a singles run. They have to continue to build him up a little more to me. I'm going off on this whole tangent. I want to go on this tangent later. But right now, Revival over the Usos. I'm also like trying to figure out the match order because it's just listed as like the order they were announced right now. So I'm like looking through. I guess the next logical thing would be Cesaro versus Aleister Black. You get 3 of the non-extreme matches out of the way to set up for the rest of the show. This one also feels easy. Cesaro is a guy who can take a loss and still look really good after it. I just fear that if Cesaro loses too much, he could lose credibility. But it's Aleister Black's main roster singles match debut. I've been a fan of Aleister Black since he debuted in NXT. I then went to go watch some of his Tommy End stuff, and he's been killing it for years. My only concern is that in this match, if it is going to be an Aleister Black win, Cesaro has to look good. I expect Cesaro to look good, and I think he will look good. My thing is, though, if he doesn't look good enough. Because logically, who is really going to be a challenger for Seth Rollins? Or, Tyler Black? Who would be a better opponent for Tyler Black than Claudio, whatever the hell his last name was, because I could never say it. I'm happy his name was Antonio Cesaro. I really enjoy him as Cesaro. But it's just another callback to the Ring of Honor days between the two. I would like to see it. I don't know if we will, ever. But I want Cesaro to get one run before he calls it a career. I don't know off the top of my head how old Cesaro is. Thank goodness I'm on Wikipedia. Cesaro is 38. Really? I thought he was much older than that. Yeah, I thought he was much older than that. Never mind. I still can't speak. But it's Aleister Black in his debut pay-per-view match as a single star. And then I expect to see him more and more on SmackDown. Maybe into the mid-card title scene right away, which I would not be upset against. I would like to see that a lot, actually. So, Aleister Black's winning that one easily, I think. I say easily, but I could be wrong. Then there's the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match with Bryan and Rowan defending their titles against New Day, Xavier Woods, and Big E, and Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. I'm kind of torn. This is the one match I'm not super confident in. There's two later that I'm somewhat confident in. This is the one I'm not as confident in, to be fair. You look at it, Bryan and Rowan are a great team. They've been actually really good as a team. Heavy Machinery is really good. New Day is really good. Outside of those three, who's really on the SmackDown roster? AOP is probably going to be there when they come back. You have the Colognes who haven't been used in almost a year. I'm just trying to remember everybody from the Tag Team Survivor Series elimination match last year. Benjamin and Gable are gone. Benjamin's doing some weird thing now. Gable's in 205 Live. They're going to start making teams. One I wouldn't mind is Matt Hardy and Ali. They've been doing it on the house show loop recently. There's a few others. You can put Buddy Murphy in something until you have like an actual single storyline for him to do. Maybe he's a fantastic tag team guy. He is a former NXT tag team champion with Wesley Blake. So it could work. It could. But like looking at the tag team title scene on SmackDown and the tag team scene in general on SmackDown, there's nothing really aside from these three teams. So I kind of like went to Wrestling 101. To me, I look at it, Otis won the triple threat match between Bryan, Woods, and himself on SmackDown. Since he won on the go-home show, I don't think Heavy Machinery is winning. And then he pinned Xavier Woods. He didn't pin Bryan. So my choice is really between New Day and Bryan and Rowan. It's tough because I do like the visual of the WWE champion surrounded by the tag team champions. So that's nice in a way, but I also don't want Bryan and Rowan just to drop it at a B-level show. Extreme Rules is not on the same level as a SummerSlam. I could see them lose at SummerSlam to a returning AOP who have been back on the house show circuit, but it's tough because we just don't know what SmackDown's tag team scene. I went with Bryan and Rowan because of the fact that Xavier lost on SmackDown and Otis won on SmackDown. Bryan was not involved in the pin, so it could work into a sense that he wasn't pinned, so he gets the pin at Extreme Rules. That's kind of like my little twist on it. I don't know why I'm so tired. Excuse me. Keep yawning. But it's tough because of the fact that there's so much question. Do you put it on New Day and have him be 6-time champs with nobody really to challenge him besides Heavy Machinery? Do you put it on Heavy Machinery too early? Do you keep it on Bryan and Rowan for too long? It's tough on the SmackDown tag scene. I'm curious what Bischoff is going to do when he comes in, because that might be one of the areas he wants to address right away, which we're all for. Have him address it, and then we can figure out where we go from here. I'm also still trying to figure out these matches, the match order. Maybe Strowman Lashley would be next. So here's the thing. Both guys need a win. I remember Lashley said he might want to go back to MMA. So there is that. But also, there is the thing where Strowman is starting to turn into a big show, for lack of a better term. He keeps getting so close to the main event scene, and he's there sometimes, but he just always falls short. So he really needs a win. Lashley just hasn't won many matches recently. He really needs a win. Could argue his match against Mysterio was that win, but that was a match pretty much used to help build up Lashley for the pay-per-view, and how he's shown up to wrestle after the stage explosion, where Strowman still hasn't been seen. So It's a really tough call. Especially when you look at that stage explosion. I was talking about it with one of my coworkers. Usually when you see people like go through the stage, you see like a mat or something of those sorts on the ground for it. He says he didn't see one. I didn't bother to go back and look to like fact check this. I probably should have, now that I look at it. But I think, God, it's so tough when you just don't know. And it's last man standing. This is the last match in the feud. I went Strowman. I'm going with Strowman because of the fact that Heyman really likes him, and I've heard rumors going around he's in for a huge push. But I just don't know at this point. And it's a shame to say this, and I've said it before. I'm tired of Braun Strowman. He hasn't done much. He is boring in the ring. Yeah, him dominating and destroying local people is cool, but what else really is there of value for him? He's not bad. He's not by any means the worst big man I've ever seen. He's one of the better ones. But he just needs direction and focus, mostly. And I'm curious if we see that coming out of Extreme Rules. Especially if he's the winner. If he's not, then I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where the story goes at this point for Strowman. I don't know what's next. Whereas if Lashley were to win, then it's kind of makes sense where Lashley, you start to build him up as this big force, this unstoppable machine almost, for lack of a better term. But it's kind of tough because you look at it, Lashley's not any bigger than Roman Reigns. He still gets out towered, I guess, for lack of a better term, compared to like the likes of Samoa Joe, because Joe's bigger than him. Braun Strowman, to be completely fair, Lashley's a lot shorter and not nearly as muscular. I say that, but it's a tough call. And even Brock Lesnar. Like, Lashley is the Lesnar build, but Lesnar had the advantage of having somebody who could speak for him. Lashley had that in Lio Rush. The Lashley character just sucked. Now they're going in a different direction with this Lashley character. If we were to get a mouthpiece, maybe that's how you bring Lio Rush back. Maybe Rush does something sneaky in this match and duct tapes Strowman's feet to the turnbuckle or something. I don't know. But I said I'm going with Strowman, and that's my only reasoning. I don't see another way for this to go. If Strowman loses, what the hell is even going on with Strowman? Where would he go from there? I honestly have no clue. Continuing with Raw then, since I think this would kind of like start to build into the bigger matches that everyone wants to see. You'd have Ricochet defending his United States Championship against AJ Styles. AJ Styles just turned heel, reuniting with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I was going to call him Carl Gallows and Luke Anderson. And Ricochet is going to be the babyface against almost insurmountable odds. This one was easy for me to pick at first because of where I want the story to go. But as I started to think about it, it became more and more hazy. I'm sticking with Ricochet. He was my first pick. He's going to be who I'm picking. At first I felt like, yeah, this is going to be like, say Gallows and Anderson trying to interfere. Like the ref gets knocked down and they do interfere. Ricochet's going to have friends come to his aid. And it's going to be, it'd be tough to say who it is. Aleister Black's on SmackDown, so it's not going to be Aleister Black. Ricochet hasn't really had a lot of friends. Miz comes to mind recently. Who else? Strowman has come to mind, actually. I say Mysterio and Cedric Alexander, partly because I think they would be a really good tag team and they would help the Raw tag division, but also because of the fact that then you could set up maybe a triple threat match between Styles, Alexander, and Mysterio, and then the winner gets a shot at Ricochet at SummerSlam, and that's how you set up Mysterio versus Ricochet. It's also been said Ricochet is another one of the guys that Paul Heyman is really high on. So, with that in mind, I kind of want Ricochet, but Styles just turned heel. Styles is back with the club, and do they put a title on him simply because of that reason? My issue is I don't want Ricochet to be just a transitional champion. And I feel like if he is, that's a waste of talent. And AJ is somebody at this point in his career who doesn't really need a belt. I could see like a little controversial finish where like all 6 men are in the ring. You have Styles, Gallows, Anderson, and Ricochet, and whoever 2 come out to save him from a beatdown. All in the ring. The two people who aren't in the match, like Anderson and my example, Mysterio, and Gallows and Alexander, just go tumbling out of the ring. AJ goes for the forearm. Ricochet ducks out of it, rolls him up. And then that way nobody looks any worse from the loss or the win. But my only other issue is I want this match to get enough time. Joe and Ricochet got just enough time to be able to show off everything and do everything and be perfect. Whereas if Styles and Ricochet don't get enough time, the match might feel a little rushed. These are 2 guys who want to do anything and everything, especially in a pay-per-view setting in a big match like this has been built up to be. I'm very, very excited for Ricochet's future in WWE. I don't think this match sets the tone, but this match kind of like will give you like a look in to see like this is what we can expect from Ricochet in the WWE in the future. I guess my biggest fear is just like the lack of knowing exactly what's next for either guy. Like in one of the matches coming up, I know clearly what's next because of what some rumors have come out as. With Ricochet and Styles, we just know AJ's on his last contract. I think it was a 3-year deal. And he signed that like in the early summer or late spring. Whereas Ricochet's only like 20-something. I think. This is why I'm happy I'm on Wikipedia, because I can check right away. Yeah, he's like 23. 30, never mind. I'm wrong. I'm not good at math in my head, okay? Ricochet's no young guy either now, I think about it. But I do think Ricochet gets the win simply because I don't think they just want him to be a transitional champion. And I also think that with big plans in mind for Ricochet, the only match that makes sense for him to have, with the United States Championship still around his waist, would be against Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam. I'm going to speak this match into existence because I want it that badly. I really want this match. I'm going to make it happen somehow, some way. Or WWE will book it and I'll be like, that's fine too. Just give me Ricochet versus Mysterio and just let both guys cut loose and have fun. That's what I want to see. Now getting to the match, I feel almost the easiest to predict, which is Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss challenging Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I actually read the reason to this a little while earlier today. The reason this is made into a 2-on-1 handicap match is because Alexa Bliss currently has a sinus infection. Again, Alexa Bliss and rumor mills have not mixed well recently. So take that with a grain of salt. But the rumor is it's a sinus infection. So they added Cross to the match in case Bliss can't work a whole match. However, with that being said, and like the wording used for it, it almost screams to me that Bayley's retaining. And it also kind of screamed to me at the show that on SmackDown and Raw even, when when Nikki Cross was talking about friendship and Bayley having no friends, it was like, Sasha Banks is coming back. She is returning at Extreme Rules. That's almost what it felt like she was saying. And it's not, if Sasha comes back to help, it's even going to cause disqualification, which means Bayley retains. So either way, it's win-win. Bayley keeps the title. I don't want the title to go off of Bayley. I want them to use Bayley right. I want them to use the SmackDown Women's Division right. And I think you kind of like see after this match, because I completely think even if Sasha Banks does not return, that Bayley's retaining. Bayley's keeping that title no matter what. But I think after the match we start to see a little like disconnect between Alexa and Nikki, and this starts to build and build and build. Maybe Alexa wins the Raw Women's Championship from whoever beats Bayley for it in like a multi-person match. Not Bayley, Becky. There's too many B's. Too many B's. Alexa wins the Raw Women's Championship, possibly from the person who beats Becky for it. And then, like, Nikki is celebrating with her, and then Alexa turns on Nikki, and that's how you get a title on Nikki Cross. But would that be too much too soon for Nikki Cross? She's a lot more talented than Lacey Evans when they both got called up at the same time. But it's probably, I think, because Nikki Cross has just more experience overall. So she's more adapted to the pressure of being a champion. Whereas Lacey Evans is just not ready for it yet. And that is my honest opinion. She's good, she's just not ready yet. Whereas Nikki Cross was ready as soon as she got called up. And then even if you have Sasha Banks interfere, how do you set that up to be like a random SmackDown match? Because from what I know, Sasha Banks is still a Raw superstar. She probably will be a Raw superstar when she comes back. So maybe we don't see Alexa and Nikki break up and involve the singles title in that for a little while. I mean, you do need women's tag teams for the tag team championships, but it's a weird pairing, and I didn't think it was going to be as long as it's been going on. It's just a weird. It's a weird pairing to me. It just doesn't work. It's like the pretty girl in school being friends with the weird nerd that sits in the corner. That's the best analogy I can make to it. God, it's like I made my point. It's going to be Bayley retaining. I don't think they want to do Bayley Sasha at SummerSlam. I feel like that's going to be a Survivor Series match. You give Becky a pay-per-view off there because of the rate she's going. She needs at least one off, which I think would be very nice for her. She'd be very happy with that. But just let Bayley continue her reign and make the SmackDown Women's Division better. You don't even need to make it better. You have Ember Moon, Liv Morgan. You have Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Carmella, Charlotte Flair, Bayley. You have 6 really talented women right there that I just named. I would say Mickie James, but she's injured right now. And the Iconics, since they're the tag team champions, appear on both shows. You have Asuka, you have Kairi Sane. You have 9, Zelina Vega, 10. You have 10 amazingly talented women on your roster, and you're giving the championship match to 2 Raw Women's Division wrestlers. Where Becky Lynch has had the same challenger 3 pay-per-views in a row. This makes literally 0 sense. I'm sorry that I'm super passionate about this, but God, just use the women's division right, please. This is the one division you've made fun of for years almost. Not even almost. You've made fun of the women's division for decades. Trish and Lita brought it back, and then when they both left, it went to garbage again. And now you have these incredibly talented women's wrestlers, and yet you're giving the title opportunities to the same people over and over and over and over. I'm fine with Charlotte not being on the pay-per-view. I'm fine with Charlotte not getting a championship shot for a little while, but just give it to somebody else who deserves it more. Alexa Bliss just came back from injury, and she went straight back to the title picture. Who else does that? Nobody else has done that. Just give Ember Moon a chance. I feel like they're kind of forming a weird thing in that storyline too, with Ember and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I'm nervous about where it goes because it almost feels like they're going to break up Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in that way. But just let Bayley win. Let Alexa and Nikki go back to Raw. No more chances, no more opportunities. And let, I don't know, Carmella. She was the first one that came to my mind. That's why I said Carmella. Let Carmella get a title shot at SummerSlam. Or you do the 4 horsewoman thing and you have Bayley versus Charlotte Flair. Let's go on to a match that made my head hurt even more than that one. You have Kofi Kingston defending the WWE Championship against Samoa Joe. I don't know. Here's the thing. Kofi's been a good WWE champion. He's been really good. I've enjoyed it a lot. But his big thing has been the whole WrestleMania moment. Kofi, the moment is past. Move on to the next thing. Move on to just wanting to be a good champion. You don't have to bring up your WrestleMania win in every single promo. It might have been for SB Hype. Now I think about it, it probably actually was 100% for SB Hype that he mentioned it on SmackDown. But just focus on Joe and focus on Extreme Rules. Focus on the now. Don't focus on the past. But with Kofi being champion, my fear is that on the first night that SmackDown goes to Fox, Brock Lesnar is cashing in on Kofi to win the WWE Championship. And then we don't see it for months. If Brock cashes in and is there full time, then I'll be totally fine with Brock Lesnar cashing in. But if Lesnar cashes in and he's gone for 6 months right away, what does that say about Brock Lesnar? And you just got a huge deal with Fox, and Lesnar's still sitting at home. What the hell? And then with Joe, you've put the title on Joe. I'm curious, is he a SmackDown guy now? Because he had a SmackDown nameplate. A lot of guys and girls, when they're on that wild card rule, even though I don't like it, I've noticed it. On the wild card rule, they'll have their brand-specific nameplate. If you go back and watch SmackDown, I believe Nikki Cross had a Raw nameplate when she came out for their contract signing. Whereas Samoa Joe had a SmackDown one. So is Joe back on SmackDown now? Again, I'm on Wikipedia. Nope, he's where he performs on the Raw brand. I don't know. I don't know anymore. But if Joe wins the title from Kofi, which would be really nice to see, I'd enjoy it. It'd be the culmination of a almost 20-year career. He would also be the first wrestler to have won the Ring of Honor. No, he wouldn't have been. Yes, he would have been. Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE champion. AJ Styles was never Ring of Honor champion. CM Punk was never TNA champion. Daniel Bryan was never TNA champion. I'm not trying to run through all the Ring of Honor champions in my head. Well, all the ones that have won the championship and then gone to WWE. Nigel McGuinness is out. Homicide never won to WWE or won the Impact Heavyweight, the TNA Heavyweight Championship. But it would be a nice culmination for Joe. My concern is then he's just a transitional champion that gets the title on to Roman Reigns. If that's the case, then Lesnar's options still stay wide open. Does he cash in on Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns? He has history with both of them. My other big concern with this match is that Joe has been built up really well in this feud. But Kofi has also been built up really well. Even after getting choked out, Kofi has continued to look really good in the build-up. So how do you finish this match? Is it a no finish, a no contest? Or it's weird to think about because you have two very talented wrestlers, yet you just can't figure out the finish. Whereas like with like Gulak and Nice, for example, again, two really good wrestlers, you kind of feel like you know the finish where Gulak's going to retain. It's challenging here because of the fact that Joe A is on Raw. But also, Kofi, I never felt like Kofi was going to have a super long reign anyway. I'd love to see him get to 100 days. I don't think he's past that yet. Let's see, WrestleMania was April 7th. It was April, at least. And we're in July. At the most, he's been a champion for 60 days. I'd love to see him get to 100, but I don't know yet. So, God, it's tough because there's no other real person that screams number one contender on SmackDown. I'm going with Kofi simply because of the fact that I don't want to see Joe just win the WWE Championship to be a transitional champion from Kofi Kingston to Roman Reigns. So that's really the only reason I'm going with Kofi. And that's because that's my biggest fear. I don't want Joe to win the title to be pointless. If he wins it, I want him to have a decent reign. he could have a great reign with the Universal Championship and make me care about the Universal Championship for the first time since I've gone back to watching wrestling. Joe could make me care again about the Universal title. 2019. I said that. That was me. I'm going with Kofi because I don't know. I'm still nervous about talking about New Day breaking up too, because of the fact they do push so much merch. Yeah, the numbers have been down. Numbers have been down across the board for WWE, except for revenue. I think revenue is still going up. But while the merchandise numbers might not be as well, they're still probably top 10 in the company, easily. With just how much merch they have. Them, Styles, and Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch come to mind too. They're in the top 5, I think, easily. So, yeah, Kofi Kingston retains his WWE Championship. Now for the hard part. What is going to be the main event of the show? Is it going to be the winner-takes-all match? Or is it going to be the tag team match? The no-holds-barred tag team match, excuse me. I'm leaning towards the latter. So let's talk about Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And this is what Wikipedia says. Last chance, winners take all, mixed tag team Extreme Rules match for both the WWE Universal Championship and the WWE Raw Women's Championship. That's a mouthful. I'm tired. It's Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Just the image of Baron Corbin holding the Universal title and Lacey Evans holding the Raw Women's Championship. If there's ever a time for a cash-in, that's it right there. That's when you hit, nope, we do not want this. Fix this, Brock Lesnar. Imagine if Bayley had kept it too, and her and Brock Lesnar cashed in at the same time, and they both won the championships. That would have been amazing. I would have been so happy. But it just seems like, here's the thing. I don't mind them mentioning Lacey Evans. Not Lacey Evans. Don't think about Lacey Evans. I don't mind them mentioning Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch in a relationship. I don't mind them mentioning it. When they mention it over and over and over and over again, then it gets boring. And I don't care. And I lose interest. And when they just force it onto their fans like, hey, look, 2 of our biggest stars in the company are dating. I don't care if they're dating or not. I don't care if they hate each other or not. They're in the ring. They do well together. Good. That's all I care about. They can put on a good match teaming together. It could have been because Andrade and Zelina Vega are also really talented, but I'm just saying it's because Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are good together. I think the issue I have with them pushing the relationship onto the fans is that we all know they're dating. We all have social media. We all see it everywhere. We don't care. If we know it, we know it. If we don't, we don't. Some people choose to keep it quiet. Like, look at Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin's married, and he doesn't talk about any of that. I believe he's married. He at least has a long-term girlfriend who they live together with. Who they live together. Where? There. English. I'm not good at it. He has a long-term girlfriend where they live together. If he's not married, I could be completely wrong, and he is married. Lacey Evans is married, and we all know that. Whereas, for whatever reason, they decided to push Becky and Seth as a couple in our faces. Doesn't make sense to me. It also feels really easy because I don't think you want to see Baron Corbin as Universal Champion. Baron Corbin feels like he would be a mid-card guy for his career. And maybe towards the end he flirts with the main event scene. Because here's the thing, Baron Corbin's not the worst wrestler I've ever seen. I've seen a lot worse. Baron's really good in the ring. Especially for somebody who has no wrestling background. And this is his fourth or fifth year, I think, as a professional wrestler. I'm also checking this information. Professional wrestling career. He started in 2012. It's 2019. Well, he started in the PC at 2012. So he's been a wrestler. He's been around professional wrestling for 7 years. His first match was in 2013. His first match was late 2012. Anyway, I'm going with. My point is, Baron Corbin's not the worst. He's actually pretty decent. He just needs something better than this. So do all parties involved. They just need something better than a mixed tag match for championships. I mean, Extreme Rules title just slapped down there. I'm curious if we see any intergender wrestling here, as this is almost like an excuse for WWE to kind of like push it. Because like we got it with Nia Jax and Randy Orton and Rey Mysterio and Ali and R-Truth. I'm trying to remember everybody Nia Jax just attacked on their way to the ring at the Royal Rumble. We saw it at the Rumble, but then it was like, oh, WWE wants to do this more, and we were like, oh yeah, that's cool, and the sponsors were like, no. So then they're like, well, we can't do this. Maybe this is a way to work around it, where it's like, oh, they just happened to be in the ring together. It just happened. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but Rollins and Lynch are walking out with the titles. I'll be happy. Well, I'll be happy it's not Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And please let us move on to somebody else. Let Becky face... Who does the Raw Women's Division even have? Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross just had title shots. Lacey Evans just had a shot. Natalya, Naomi, Dana Brooke even. Oh, maybe not Dana. Dana's not ready just yet. Tamina Snuka. No, never Tamina. Sorry, Tamina, but no. Nia's not back yet from injury, so we can't do that. She's got at least like 4 more months. I'll be curious to see what happens with Nia when she comes back. I'm trying to think, who could Becky even feud with? The only two that are coming to mind are Naomi and Natalya. Because I think they want to build up Sasha Banks before Sasha gets a title shot. If she comes back. I'm still saying if, because until it happens, it's an if. So this is what I mean. They have talent, but it's like, who's really been built up to even get a shot? The only person I can think of is Lacey Evans, because they've only focused on Lacey Evans recently. Naomi, they've not really done much with her recently. Natalya's lost to Lacey Evans. That's really it. Anyway, I think the main event is going to be Undertaker and Roman Reigns versus Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. I hate that Shane McMahon's in the main event. I'm happy Drew McIntyre's in the main event, because that guy is really good. So here's the thing. I'm taking The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, but I'm very, very nervous about it. Rumor I heard going around is Undertaker wants to work a match with Drew McIntyre. I said on Twitter when Undertaker came to the ring and McIntyre and McMahon were standing in it, I said, how cool would it have been to see present-day Drew McIntyre versus mid to late 2000s Undertaker? That would have been so good to see. But now we're getting a different version of that. And if Undertaker can go in the ring on Sunday, then I'm all for seeing that match. People have said this, and now I kind of feel it too, that we might see Drew win the match by pinning Undertaker. If anyone's going to take a pin in the match besides Shane McMahon, maybe it would be Undertaker, because they want to continue to build up Drew. They want to build up Roman like always. Shane doesn't have much left to prove. He has nothing. He has no reason to even be on our screens at this point. Whereas Undertaker has nothing left to prove. And people have said this on Twitter, and now that I think about it, I will want to see it. It would be really cool. I want Drew McIntyre to be the one to retire The Undertaker. That image of him standing over Undertaker would be incredible. I am very excited to see it. I want to see it. I would love to see it. But like on Sunday, I feel like it's going to be... You send the crowd home happy with Undertaker and Roman Reigns winning. You could also send them home happy with Rollins and Lynch winning. But in a match that feels like a foregone conclusion, I don't think that should close the show. I think what should close the show would be a match where we really don't know. We don't really know what to expect from this tag team match. So I'm nervous, I'm curious. I just want Shane McMahon off my screen, which is rumored to be happening after the show on Sunday. It's rumored that feud with Kevin Owens is going to be the way they get McMahon off of the screen full time. Which would be interesting. If there's ever like a big brawl or something, we would expect to see an authority figure, and maybe that's where they use Shane because he's the least busy. To be fair, I don't know what his exact title is. Like, we know Vince is the CEO of the company, Triple H is the COO and runs NXT, and Stephanie is Chief Creative Officer, I believe. Where we don't really know what Shane's title is. So, yeah, Jesus. Why am I so tired? I don't know. So I look at it. To me, it makes sense from a future standpoint if you have McIntyre and McMahon win. But it also kind of makes sense to me personally if you see Undertaker and Reigns win, because A, the crowd would go home happy. B, it continues to build up Roman Reigns. C, you could have him beat Shane, and then Drew and Shane come out the next night, and Drew's like, you never beat me. And that's how you set up McIntyre versus Undertaker. It'll be very exciting. I'm very curious. But those are my Extreme Rules picks. To go over them again, I'm just going to go in order on the Wikipedia card from the match they have listed first to the match they have listed last. I have Rollins and Lynch retaining over Corbin and Lacey Evans. I have Undertaker and Roman Reigns over Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. I have Kofi Kingston retaining his WWE Championship over Samoa Joe. Bayley retaining over Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Drew Gulak retaining his championship over Tony Nese. Daniel Bryan and Rowan retaining over New Day and Heavy Machinery. Aleister Black over Cesaro. Ricochet retaining over AJ Styles. Braun Strowman over Bobby Lashley. And I have the Revival retaining the Raw Tag Team Championships, over the Usos. Now, I don't know if this is the finish card. We could see 2 matches added. One could be tweeted out in like 15 minutes for all I know. Where it's Finn Balor defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. They could also build it up to where it is Balor versus Nakamura versus Andrade at SummerSlam. And if that's the case, I have no clue who I'm picking. And you look at it from that standpoint, it makes sense for either of them to beat the Demon. Because you would see the Demon at SummerSlam, but it would make sense for Nakamura to beat the Demon because he's beaten the Demon before. He's beaten Balor multiple times. I believe he beat him when he was the Demon at one point in New Japan. I just refer to every time Balor has face paint now as the Demon, I guess. And Andrade's faced the Demon before, so he knows what to expect. If anyone is to beat the Demon, Nakamura and Andrade make the most sense. And Finn Balor on a SmackDown card, on a SmackDown show where you don't really have a big heel, he would be a really good underdog babyface. You could also just put him with Ali and put him in the tag title scene to help that out, which I would still really like. A Balor and Ali tag team, please and thank you. I'm very curious to see where the Intercontinental Championship picture goes, especially since Balor just lost to Nakamura on SmackDown. So technically, Shinsuke Nakamura is in line for an Intercontinental Championship match. I'm just curious in that match who would take the pin, because you want to build up Balor, you want to build up Nakamura, and you want to build up Andrade. You give those 3 20 minutes or so, they'll all look great, but someone has to take the pin. And my fear is it would be Nakamura because he has less to offer gas tank wise left in his career compared to Andrade and Finn Balor. Because Nakamura said he's in his last contract, I believe. I think this is his last one. So we should get as much as we can out of Nakamura while he's there. But I also feel he wouldn't mind putting over younger talent. And then there's also the Iconics versus the Kabuki Warriors. I'm just going to still call them Kairi Sane and Asuka. Because I don't know how to spell it right. Because I don't trust my fingers. Or my brain. I wouldn't be surprised if that match is here. But I expected at SummerSlam. Then the Iconics drop the titles there to Asuka and Kairi Sane. And then they kind of figure out where to go from there. And the reason the titles haven't been on the television, on the shows recently, and if this is a legit story, I am kind of happy it didn't happen. It was because they're supposed to feud. The Iconics were supposed to feud with the Bella Twins. If you know me, you know I'm not a big fan of the Bella Twins. It just doesn't click for me. But some people love them. I get that. I just don't like them that much. So, like, personally, I'm happy it didn't happen, but if it would have been the titles to be on TV, then I would have liked to have seen it. So, the big thing is they're kind of like, don't know what to do standpoint, and now they know what to do, so they're building towards it. I expect the tag team title match to be at SummerSlam, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least a backstage segment or something, or even possibly the match on Extreme Rules, or at Extreme Rules. That's really all I can think of. I'm still saying the card might not be done. I'm expecting something else. But we'll see. I'm out of ideas for what to talk about. That's really all I got. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you can follow myself on Twitter at ChurroSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. I have actually started tweeting a little more. I've been tweeting out fun facts. So, like, did you know? The one I did today didn't get as much publicity as the second or third one I did. But today's is still really cool to look at, so go follow me on there. You can also follow me and the stuff I write about over at All Things Combat, which is a website that covers pro wrestling, MMA, and boxing. We try to have articles up every other day at least. We also do have a lot of coverage on Sundays and Saturdays and Fridays even. A lot of articles go up. We have dual live coverage going this weekend with Fight for the Fallen and Evolve 131, Evolve's 10-year anniversary show. And SummerSlam, no, Extreme Rules is on Sunday. We will have live coverage of all of that. I will be the one doing the live coverage, so I'm very excited. I'm very optimistic about the card. I think it could be a good show. I just need to watch and hope that they do everything right. And you can follow them at Things Combat. I think that's every base covered. As always, any support is appreciated, especially those follows on Twitter. Any subscriptions from this video would be really appreciated. I really want to get that sub count up because that would be really nice. Please help. I would like to do this more. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will catch you next week. We will have a Extreme Rules review. We will have Fight for the Fallen reviewed. We will have Evolve 131 reviewed. We'll have G1 Climax recap / catch up / review. And maybe even Slammiversary. I want to watch more TNA or Impact or whatever it's called now. GFW maybe. I don't know. I want to watch more and I'm excited for more. But that is it for me today. I will see you guys next week. Same time. Maybe not same time. Same place. Same day at least. It'll always be launching on Fridays. Only on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you then.